Hey everybody, my name is Mike Montgomery, and today we're going to build this oak and steel desk on Modern Builds.
The first thing I needed to do for this project was build the top, because that's what everything is going to be referencing for size later on. So I got my DIY track saw and I cut a piece of 3/4 inch oak plywood to rough size. Now this top is going to be 2 layers thick to make an 1.5 inch thick desktop. So after I cut one piece out of oak, I got a piece of 3/4 inch pine plywood that I had laying around the shop, and I cut it to the same size. This is going to be the bottom piece that no one ever sees. Whenever you're gluing up plywood face to face like this, you want to spread your glue really evenly all the way to the edges to get a good lamination. Another thing that helps are to use 2x4 caul boards to help distribute the force of your clamps and to keep your glue up flat while it dries. These F-style clamps from Maker brand are linked in the description, and they are part of the Maker brand starter kit for under $200. Check that out. While I was letting that glue dry, I got a piece of 1/8 inch thick hot rolled plate steel, and I used my angle grinder with a cutoff wheel to cut it to length. Once I had it cut to size, I started laying out all of the lines for the monitor stand that I'll be attaching to the back side of the desk. Of course, if you plan on building this desk, you can make it any size under the sun, but if you want to build what I did, I'll have some detailed drawings on my website linked below that you can check out. I needed to make grooves on each end where I wanted to put a 90-degree bend on it where it's going to attach to the tabletop. Here you can see that I've switched to a grinding disc and I'm holding my angle grinder so that I chamfer the inside of this groove. This way, whenever I bend it, it closes everything up to make a mitered joint. This contraption is my DIY plate steel or sheet metal bender that I'll have a video coming out on in the coming days. If you're watching this video in the future, make sure and check out the links in the description of this video to check that video out. I just lined up the groove that I made with the piece of angle iron and then bent it into place. Now as you can see, I bent a little bit past 90 degrees, and once I got my speed square up there for reference, well, I realized it. So all I did was I put it back into the brake and I pulled it back a little bit, and then it was right where it needed to be. After I did that to both sides of the shelf, I went back to my angle grinder and I cut the middle shelf support so that I could weld it on right in the center of that piece. Because I'm only using 1/8 inch thick steel, there was a lot of wobble along the length of the shelf, but adding this middle support made everything really rigid. There's a good chance that if I used thicker steel, I would have been able to make this design without the middle support, but I wanted to make sure it was strong since I was building this for someone else. If you've ever worked with red oak before, then you know it's got a long fibrous grain that's really prone to tearing out. So anywhere that I was making a circular saw cut, I used masking tape to help prevent any tear out. And now that my top is its final size, I got my shelf piece back out so that I could make marks and cut a groove for that middle support. I made my middle shelf support about 3/8 of an inch taller than the sides of the shelf. That way it could set into this groove and the shelf itself would be flat, referencing the table once everything was attached. I used Gorilla Glue construction adhesive in that groove for the middle support, and then I countersank and used wood screws to attach the two sides. The screws I used were stainless steel with a star bit head, which made them look a lot nicer. With the shelf in, I moved over to the table saw so that I could cut some scrap oak down into edge banding to cover up all of those plywood layers. Now this is a smaller piece than I would normally like to cut on the table saw, so just remember to be careful. I used a Japanese pull saw to cut an angle on the end of my edge banding so it matched up perfectly with my metal shelf piece. The edge banding I cut is just over 1/8 of an inch thick, and I think it gives a really cool, beefy look. Once the glue dried on the edge banding, I could trim everything to length and then sand the tabletop. I put on 2 coats of finishing paste wax from Minwax on the metal. This prevents it from rusting and just gives it a good luster. Then on the wood, I applied 2 coats of Maker brand Simple Finish with wax. Just look at how beautiful this makes oak. I love it. Links are in the description.
Really quickly, I'd like to give a huge thanks to this video's sponsor, a company I love, Squarespace. Squarespace is the one-stop shop for a custom designer website that you can build yourself. And the beautiful part is you don't need any website building experience whatsoever. Squarespace has incredible designer templates that look great right out of the box, but they're also really easy to customize for a unique, one-of-a-kind look. If you can drag and drop files around and customize text, you can build a Squarespace site. In fact, if you go to the link down in the description, squarespace.com/modernbuilds, and use the code modernbuilds at checkout, you can get 10% off your first Squarespace site. Over 2 years ago, long before Squarespace was a sponsor, I built the very first Modern Builds website using Squarespace. It's amazing, I use it, I recommend it personally all the time to my friends and colleagues. It really is amazing. So remember, make sure and follow that link down in the description. The code is Modern Builds. Thanks a lot, Squarespace.
It's metal time, and I've got some 1.5 by 3.5 inch steel tube. Yes, this is the exact same size as what a 2x4 would normally be. To save time, I got all of my pieces cut to length from my metal supplier. I was under a little bit of a time crunch for this project. Then, I could weld up my 2 frames for the legs. Now, as you guys know, I am a beginner welder, but I'm getting a little bit better. Check this weld out. Not too shabby. In fact, on this project, I only used a wire brush to clean up my welds. I didn't even worry about grinding them down flat. And I'll be the first to say it, this base is really simple, but what's great about it is it's really efficient in the amount of material it uses and the amount of time it takes to build. I was able to get all of my pieces in place and clamp them down to make sure everything was nice and square before I welded anything. What I've learned the past few months welding is that if you start off square, meaning making your first couple welds really precise, that saves so many headaches down the road. And really it's the same thing with woodworking. If you have pieces that are referencing each other for square, and those are out of alignment, then you can really compound your errors to make a really wonky table base. And at just about any welding or metal supplier you go to, you'll find these right angle connectors. These are just tabletop brackets that you can weld onto your base and then use a screw to connect your tabletop with. And then once all the welding was finished, I could flip it right side up, clean everything with some acetone, and then put on a couple coats of paste wax to finish it up.
So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure and click that subscribe button down below me. Also, beside me, there'll be a couple of videos on the screen if you haven't seen those already. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on Modern Builds.